Virgo ascendant, Virgo rising, welcome. This is your December/January 2020-2021 video, an eclipse. It happens mid-month through December, and then we're going to talk about some of the stronger planetary movements in your life. And I'm going to tell you what areas of your life they happen in. And I'm going to give you the dates. I'm going to give you the degrees. I'm going to give you all the good stuff. I'm going to tell you the window of opportunity or the window of holy crap. Don't do that. We're going to break it down. There is something about the one-on-one, the connection, the eye contact that majority of the people commenting really enjoy. They really feel as though we're sitting here face to face and having a conversation. And that is actually a big goal of mine, to make sure that we feel like we're talking heart to heart, soul to soul, that we're connecting, that we're doing a mind meld, so to speak, but that we understand one another. Virgo ascendant, Virgo rising, welcome. This is G, and I'm going to talk, we're going to walk, we're going to go and stroll together hand in hand through your coming frequencies. December 14th, okay? December 14th is eclipse time. And yes, we just had an eclipse at the end of November, right? So don't get confused. There was a November 30th eclipse, and then yes, 15 days later, it's like, what the heck, right? We've got another eclipse, yes. So that first eclipse was in Gemini energy, okay? And for a Virgo ascendant, Virgo rising, that eclipse took place in your 10th house of career. But the big thing about Gemini is it's all about thinking and communicating and relating. And being in your 10th house, this is your career. Your 10th house, the job. J-O-B, how do I make my money? My professional ambitions. That's your 10th house energy. And having Gemini there, Gemini is learning a new skill set. Did you learn a new skill set recently? Through 2020? Who the hell hasn't? Who hasn't had to learn something in 2020 in order to operate and function in a different way, because the world is very much different? But the world is actually in sync with the Gemini energy, at least the world's future. For the next 12, 13, 14 months, we are definitely on this path of we need to embrace the Gemini energy, which is internet, social media, doing business online, dating, relating, mating, communicating, sibling energy, networking, speaking with our thumbs, right? This is really where we're headed for the next 12 months. And we've been talking about this for a long time. So this is all in your 10th house. So you do the math, or you do the, plug in the things that make sense for you. If you want to know more, or if you have a specific question, I can take a quick free peek, but I got to know your birth digits. Comment below. I'll take care of you. Mid-December is an eclipse at the opposite end. So if you had an eclipse in your 10th house, the opposite end of the 10th is now your 4th house, all right? So we're now eclipse time in Sagittarius in your 4th house, 23 degrees of Sag. Now this eclipse in particular is a powerful eclipse because it's a new moon eclipse. The one at the butt end of November, well, that was a little bit different because that was a full moon eclipse. That was a letting go of something. That was a closure thing. There are many things that happen in our lives, and we don't realize like what it is until after it's happened, and until we think about it, like this whole retrospective thing. We take a look at it, and then especially when you apply the astrology, or at least the terms and the words that I'm using, some people have a big light bulb experience, and they're like, oh, that was that. When you have that, that gives you a point of validation, right? It confirms things for you. And that's important. That really helps our understanding and our growth process. Eclipse, December 14th, Sagittarius energy. Sagittarian energy is what do I believe? It's about religion, my philosophy on life. Sagittarian energy has so much to do with freedom, with truths. It is the seeker. It is law. It is the courtroom law, right? Like the system. It's literally, it's not so much somebody who carries the badge and who enforces the law. It's more about the legal system itself. So when we have an eclipse there, and it's a new moon eclipse, all right? New moon meaning we make wishes. But what's really fantastic about this eclipse is that it is conjunct the galactic center, but it lights things up, and it really highlights truth. It really highlights the legal system. It really highlights freedom. It really highlights philosophy on life and religion. It highlights foreigners. Like, these are all Sagittarius words, right? Foreigners, foreign language, foreign lands, traveling overseas, anything you have to get in the plane and go fly, like, that's all Sagittarian. Sagittarian is the seeker. But let's also understand something about Sagittarian energy. It's the higher learning. But Sagittarian energy in your fourth house, this is the seeker. This is doing things in a different way, in a very expansive way, but it's really affecting your belief system. And Sagittarian in the fourth house is my emotions. How do I get emotionally satisfied? What nurtures me? And typically, what would nurture you is the seeking, is the traveling, is going overseas, is getting in an airplane and going. That is how you got that nurturing, that feeds you, right? Dealing with foreigners, right? Dealing with something that is otherworldly, that is beyond you, touching in with the universe, so to speak, touching up with others, but a really very spiritual sign, okay? Very much about a religious thing too. And so a lot of people with this placement, there's going to be religion that feeds you. There's going, it's all the things that are ruled by Jupiter, okay? Jupiter, all those keywords that I listed, these are things that will feed you emotionally, that give you emotional satisfaction, that give you emotional security. So at this time when there's an eclipse, it's like there's a new beginning, because it's a new moon, okay? But because it's an eclipse, it means something is going to change. But we're bringing something in. Something new is definitely coming in. Now, what you want to do in your chart is you want to see if you have something at the degrees of 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 of Sagittarius, or 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 of Gemini. We look at both locations, which is why this is so powerful, because just 15 days before, you had an eclipse in your 10th house, right? Which means it was also affecting your 4th house. And now 15 days later, you're having an eclipse in your 4th house, but it's also affecting your 10th house, right? So am I working from home? How is my, right? Because your home is your 4th house. It's where you physically live, but it's also this home. All right, it's also this location. It's also your inner peace, your inner sanctum, your emotional security. It's your foundation of your psychology when you were a baby, right? It's the mother breastfeeding and the child that's receiving from the mother, right? And giving it emotional satisfaction by being there and supplying it what it needs. And so we have this combination of your desires as far as professional ambitions and goals in the world changing with your emotional stability, and vice versa, because the eclipse happened in both locations for you. Remember, beliefs, religion, philosophy on life. It is the law system, right? It's the legal system. It's truth, seekers of truth, right? This is your 4th house placement. But again, look for those degrees. If you don't know and you want to know, just comment your birth digits below. Now, we move on to January. Brings about an interesting time. It's not just January. It literally does happen days after the eclipse in December. We have Jupiter and Saturn combining their forces, moving together hand in hand into the sign of Aquarius. Now, Jupiter adds to things, and Saturn represents rules and regulations. Saturn steps in and says, I need to establish order and structure. The sign of Aquarian energy, this is all about people, groups of people. So what we see is additional rules and structure and order added to how people operate when they're in groups. And it's just not how we operate physically when we're around each other, okay? It is also how we operate online, because that is the sign of Aquarius, right? That is the internet. Aquarius is the internet. Aquarius represents anything that was invented that it helped humanity advance in some way. But it's electricity, right? It's that Tesla energy. It's Aquarius energy. It's knowledge, right? We have knowledge at our fingertips. This is the sign of Aquarius. And so we see rules, new rules coming into place. And this happens mid-December. right? Right after the eclipse on the 14th. Since there's such a pow factor of the sun coming and lining up at the galactic center, there may be rules that are put in place that may really be like, whoa, are you serious? And so again, this could be within social platforms online. We're already hearing about stuff in the court systems with the people who are in charge of Facebook and Twitter and all that. Going through some questioning and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into that here. What we also want to pay attention to is that with that in place, we need to know where that happens in your life, like what area of your life. So I look in your chart and I find your Uranus energy. This is at work. Your Uranus energy has to do with your daily work routines because it's in your 6th house. 6th house. This is my daily work routines, my daily health habits, my work habits. This is all about the routines that I do in the, throughout my day and throughout my job, but it's not just at the job and necessarily tied in only with health, but it's anything you do throughout your day that's part of the routine. And typically most folks either go to school or work, right? 9 to 5. Well, and nowadays you can work anytime you want. Like we're doing a lot of online schooling now. This is a very big thing, and this will become very prominent actually. And that's also going to add to the structure and the order is schools pulling away. And I've already heard about, New York, like I think 2 days ago. I'm recording on the 20th, I think this is, of November. So yeah, New York already announced, all online for the sake of trying to add order and establish control of the pandemic in any way that we can. We will likely see a lot more of that happening because, well, I'm sharing with you the frequencies, the planets, the angles that are up in the sky, and this is what it is. But here's some news that we want to take moving forward. January becomes very interesting because then we have the planet Mars moving out of Aries energy. And Mars is going to be moving into the sign of Taurus energy. So wherever Mars moves, it is all about I'm starting something. It takes action. I'm physically going to do something. So where's Taurus energy in your life? Your Taurian energy is in your 9th house. Your 9th house is long distance traveling. It's going to sound very familiar to the Jupiter energy, to the Sagittarius energy I talked about, because that is the same as your 9th house. Sagittarian energy is the ruler, right? Sag and Jupiter, one and the same. They rule the 9th house together, okay? So Sagittarian energy, this 9th house, you've got Taurus energy there, which means you're going to have the planet Mars traveling through your 9th house. So it's almost as though you're going to feel like you need to travel, like you want freedom. And the only way you can get freedom is to travel, is to get on an airplane and go somewhere. But it's not just going to be an exploration of physical travels, okay? Because you've got Mars there, and Mars is going to be squaring, okay? You're going to be feeling an impatience. You're going to be feeling like, I want to travel. It's time for me to do this. I'll even get in the car and just drive, right? I'll take a long road trip, and that's fine, right? That's fine. There might be rules and regulations, but you do it in a safe way and you're going to be okay. And that might be your best way. But understand something. I'm going to give you some dates here, and I want you to pay attention to these dates because these dates will help you navigate the month of January. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I've mapped out the month of January for the most stressful times. Unfortunately, they're not just a couple of days, there's weeks involved. In essence, it comes out to January being kind of stressful because Mars will be traveling through a fixed sign of Taurus, which squares the Jupiter and the Saturn energy in Aquarius. This has everything to do with your 9th house of belief, what I believe, the house of my freedoms, the house of my religion and my philosophy on life, okay? So it's your belief squaring up with your daily routines. And so this can be tricky because it's what you believe about your daily routines, okay? So whatever your daily routines were up to this time, all of that, your daily routines are being switched all around. It's going to switch. It's going to change up. Jupiter and Saturn entered your 6th house. So when Jupiter and Saturn enter there, they're making new rules, all right? Okay, if you're somebody who has planets in Taurus, and if you have planets in Aquarius, like your natal birth planets, this would add to the intensity of the energies that I'm already speaking about. So the first 14 days are going to be the most stressful. But what will happen is Jupiter will pull away from Saturn after like day 14. And that means when Jupiter gets away from the rules, right, the rules won't seem as strict or as strenuous. Whether that's because there's less rules or because you become more acclimated to the rules is the thing. And here we go. Taffy showed up again, and we're talking about the 6th house. Taffy only shows up very seldom in videos recently, but anytime I'm talking about Virgo energy / 6th house energy, Taffy appears. The daily health habits and daily health routines, because this is your 6th house as well. So we're going to talk about that for a second here. You want to take care of your health, okay? And I'm not talking pandemic health. I'm not talking virus, because I haven't even looked at that for you. But I do know that if Jupiter and Saturn enter your 6th house for the first 14 days and Mars starts squaring them like January 3rd, you might feel like, okay, what the heck's wrong with me? Because what's happening is Mars represents your body, all right? Your body. But it's really going to be your beliefs about your body, your beliefs about your health habits and routines. But they're squaring up with Saturn, and Saturn sets restrictions and boundaries, all right? She's eating paper, so bear with me. Saturn will have restrictions and boundaries on your body, on your physical body. And it'll be the beliefs about your physical body, beliefs of what you can and can't do. And this is going to be, yeah, it's a 90-degree square, so it'll be stressful. But what you want to understand is that it's not going to last forever. However, Mars does stay here in your 9th house all the way until, like, it will pull away from Saturn. After the 24th of January, it pulls away from Jupiter. So I have to talk about Jupiter for a little bit, because what happens when Jupiter squares with Mars, it is going to make you impatient, adds to the speed of things. So when Jupiter and Mars square up, Mars wants to be physically active and move, and Jupiter says, yeah, let's do it. Jupiter adds to things, okay? So there's a lot of this, I don't have any patience, I'm irritable, I want to just go ahead and do. I don't want to think it through. So you want to go slow. You want to slow down. Now, it won't be as intense as Mars has been retrograding through Arian energy. So that's the big, beautiful thing. Mars is leaving Aries at the beginning of January. And so this is wonderful, because when it was in Aries, especially when it was retrograding, there was a lot of protest energy. There was a lot of fight mentality. And yes, in the month of December, we're feeling that. We're seeing Mars conjunct Eris in Aries energy, and that elevates the intensity, that elevates this, hey, I want to protest, or hey, I'm not taking no for an answer, or no, I'm not going to be quiet. And so that you want to be alert, and because that's in your 8th house, and that's your significant, not just one-on-one relationships, but these are deeply bonded relationships. So it can be folks you have past lives with, meaning people that you have soul history with, okay? Soulful history, S-O-U-L. And it'll be okay, but it's interesting because it's right around Christmas. So, Christmas and the holidays are already stressful. This holiday, they're recommending to have virtual holidays. Matter of fact, it's November 20th. I literally just got an alert on my phone right before I started this video. I was already recommending this to people because of, the pandemic and what I see here angling up. We've got the North Node literally squaring Neptune exactly, and that is the virus, that is the ugly bug, that is the pandemic, and so you want to be aware of that and make sure you're wearing your mask, that you're washing your hands, and that's exactly what the text message said. It was from the state of Illinois. It said Tier 3 alert. Make sure that you are only leaving the house when you have to, work from home. It didn't say lockdown, it just said Tier 3. I'm assuming Tier 4 means we go into lockdown or whatever, I'm not even sure. Just be smart, just be safe, and we'll get through this. We're going to rise together, we're going to fly together, we're going to come upon happier times, but we just have to be aware and raise our consciousness about not only ourselves, but those around us. And that is the big deal. We are being asked to care for those whose health is less than ours, whose durability, whose stability, whose endurance, whose well-being isn't as rigid or as strong as ours. We are being asked to consider the lives of others, and understanding that wearing a mask and practicing safe distancing is that, yeah, I may live through it and I may be okay, but I care about my neighbor. I care about my mother. I care about my brother. I care about those that I see in my everyday life. I care about those that I see in my day-to-day routines. And so elevate and take the higher road. And that is looking out for the group energy. That is loving yourself, but at the same time, making sure that you're being aware of those around you, and that you're being diligent and knowing that you can help them by wearing a mask. You can help them by keeping safe distance. You can help somebody by just following the rules. You could even save someone's life. And wouldn't that be wonderful to save somebody's mother's life? So you go forward, Virgo. You're all about health and understanding alternative health routines. Mercury is your ruler, and so you're logical, you're rational, you're intelligent, right? You know how to connect the dots about things. So this can be very positive and optimistic for you at the same time, but it does involve pulling in some of the rationality and just remembering that when it comes to people in charge, people who are the higher ups in your life, that energy is definitely part of your daily work routine, right? So whether you're working at home or whether you're working digitally from home, that time in the month of January, and I said time, the cats are driving. Here she comes. Here comes Taffy around the corner. That time is literally, we're talking the first half of January and then all the way until the 24th. So rest assured that if you are at peace, if you love yourself and you love others and you hold nothing but harmlessness in your heart, right? Realizing we're all under these same stress. We are all getting these same angles, not just you, but everybody. The difference is they're getting it in somewhere else in their life. So if your boss goes home and life is really hard at home, chances are that when they come to work, they might be a little on the grumpy side, right? Just like if you're at work and things are not going good at work, when by the time you get home, you might not be so happy, right? And so we're all experiencing this somewhere in our life. And so it's the understanding of holding humanity in our heart and our understanding and our ability to count to 10 and maybe to have to count to 20 before we speak. And to realize we are really all helping each other elevate. We're all helping each other to grow our angel wings and to escalate. And we can do this. We can fly together. We can graduate and we can get those wings. And the sign of Aquarius is exactly that. And eventually Jupiter, like I said, mid-January, Jupiter will pull away from Saturn. And when Jupiter pulls away from Saturn, there can be times of beneficial action because it'll be angling Mars. But remember, when Jupiter angles Mars, it makes Mars very impatient, and it makes Mars want to take action really fast. So all you got to remember is to think it through first. Look before you leap. Think before you speak. I'll say that again. Look before you leap. Think before you speak. So that's mid-January. Think. Use your thought and be powerful. Use your thought and ascend. Use your thought and be the example. Use your thought and be the change we need.